Noah's breaking things. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Mother of us all. Amen. So I know winter just couldn't wait to get here, but I still have a Halloween story to tell you. So as I get older, I find myself regressing in various ways, including I've really gotten back, and it's your fault actually, I've really gotten back into celebrating Halloween, much like a child would. So this year, Raph and I went to a costume party at the Shed Aquarium. We dressed up as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There are photos, but no, you don't get to see them. And I'll also leave it to you to guess which ones we were. The other thing we did is we carved pumpkins. We carved jack-o'-lanterns together. He's very indulgent, my spouse. And I learned something, or was reminded of something, that is a difference between us in the process of carving pumpkins. Now, I take my pumpkin carving rather seriously. And of course, as I was taught by my parents, and I'm sure by their parents before them, that there's a proper way to carve your pumpkin, right? You have to cut out a piece from the back first and scoop out, right? You gotta scoop all of that gunk. You gotta do that first, right? And then you can do the fun part and start covering your pumpkin. Raph starts covering his pumpkin without scooping anything out. Everyone, clutch your pearls. And I was like, what are you doing? You can't, that's not, aren't you gonna pull all that stuff out? He's like, no, I'll do that after I do the fun part. And then I was like, he's crazy. What are you, and then I paused for a second, I'm like, wait a minute. That's fine. That is just fine. There is absolutely no good reason. There is no reason you can't carve your pumpkin first and then scoop out, and then do the gross part of scooping out all of the stuff. So there are two things I want to run with from that story that do, I promise, relate to the gospel today. And I've got my board because I was always taught never have more than one idea in the sermon because people get lost. So I've got two ideas, so that's why I've written them down, so we don't get lost. Idea one, of course, as you might, the idea, in quotes, that there is a right way to do things and there is a wrong way to do things. Okay, so hold on to that. We're going to come back to that by the end. But the thing I want to talk about first is a second idea. An idea of delayed joy. Delayed joy. Which I think comes from a way of being in the world, and what we might even call a virtue of delayed gratification. Anyone ever heard that phrase before? Delayed gratification, that you wait, you don't just follow that impulse that you want to satisfy whatever it will make you, give you most pleasure or make you happiest in that moment, right? You see that thing on Amazon, you don't just click buy now, right? You're like, maybe I don't need to buy that on Amazon, maybe I don't need to buy that at all. Another way of thinking about delayed gratification is like you've got to do your work before you can go out and play. Right? This is something we teach our children. This is something we were taught, that we instill. You have to do your work first. And there's a lot to be said about living with a principle of delayed gratification, right? Making sure that you get things done. It can't just all be fun and games, right? Yes. And today's gospel makes me wonder something about that way of being in the world, which I suspect that nearly everybody in this room actually follows, living your life that way, in that kind of responsible way. Is that delayed gratification becomes It shapes us into people who also have delayed joy. That the whole way that we structure our lives is by saying, we can't have that joy yet because there's something we have to do first. And then there's something else we have to do first. Always, always, joy is put forward into the future because we can only have that once all the work is done, only once all the problems are fixed, only once all the threats are answered. And even those of us who aren't quite as crazy about their delayed gratification as I might be, maybe folks who are more like Raph is, like, let's do the fun part first. We're all kind of hardwired still, we know, to overemphasize what feels threatening or what feels like a problem. You ever heard that rule about in relationships you need to have like 6 or 8 positive interactions to counterbalance one negative interaction? If you don't know that rule, you should adopt that rule because it's really good. Because things that are negative, things that feel like a threat or a criticism or a problem, are just that, they're way that much heavier in our brains and in our hearts and our souls than positive things do. So this idea of delayed joy, that we're always putting joy further into the future. And if you're not quite following what I mean by that, let's have some fun. Let's do a demonstration. I'm going to need 5 volunteers. If 5 folks would just come forward and line up along here. Don't all jump up at once. Okay, there we go. Barb, you're going to be... You work in a school. Barb, you are going to be our joy, as you are. As you are, our joy and our lights. Okay. So joy, right? I want to have joy in my life. But something else happens first. Tina, you're going to get in front of me and get between me and my joy and tell us what you are.
I'm a scary headline.
Okay, scary headline. Right? Whatever it is, right? You open up the newspaper or social media, whatever it is, like something's like, oh my God, right? This is like the biggest problem in the world. We have to fix this. And what am I doing to fix this? Okay, so then you start putting energy maybe into that or what you might do about that. And then, Sally, you come, and I think I'm working towards joy, but then you come and you get in front of my joy too. And what are you?
An injustice I just heard about.
An injustice I just heard about. That could be global, it could be national, it could be personal. Like your best friend is being mistreated at work, and suddenly that is like the big thing on your mind, and you're on the phone being like, you need to tell that boss what's what. Whatever it is. So then you're working on that, and then you think, okay, if I can just like solve that problem, and then I'll get back to the scary headline, and then I can get to the joy, and then, Juanita, who are you?
I am enough.
You are enough, Juanita. But I think, am I blank enough? Those thoughts. Do I have enough money? Am I good enough at my job? Am I good enough at my relationships? Am I a good enough son and spouse, right? All these sorts of things. Is my retirement going to sustain me? Do I have enough? Those sorts of thoughts. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get back and like refigure out my budget so I make sure that I'm on my saving goals and all that. And then I'm going to get to this injustice thing, and then I'm going to start talking about the headline. Until then, I meet somebody who has a different opinion about me, about something I really care about. Or I read something online. Or I see somebody on social media who has this different opinion from me. And suddenly that is the thing that is most on my mind right now. And like, I really have to make sure that they know that they're wrong. And then people like them also have to know that they're wrong, and only then Can we finally get about our business of solving all of the problems we have, and then I can figure out if I'm enough and if we can deal with the injustice and the scary headline. And that, okay, see how far away from joy I am? Barb, where are you, right? So what do we do about this? When we have like all of the threats, all of the scary threats have come between us and joy, that big joy, that sense of like being accepted and loved and blessed and having abundance and fulfillment, and that all the things that we dream of that our lives are meant to be, we are so far away from that because we've let all these things get in the way. We have to deal with these first, and then we'll get to the joy. The joy is delayed. And I think a lot of us these days, realizing this, are then thinking to ourselves, you know what, it's become too much. I just can't. So I'm going to have a little joy. That's just mine. And I'm going to retreat into that. And I'm going to like, okay, enough with y'all. I'll see you later. I'm going to take my little joy home with me and focus on the things that give me life and light and pleasure and peace. And this is very, very, very understandable that we would be in a place like this. What else we might do, and that I'm going to get to the gospel in a second, I assure you. What I think Jesus is actually modeling today is that each one of these threats can be an occasion for a little joy. The person with a different opinion of me, or from me, maybe of me too, can be the occasion for a little joy. Juanita, maybe that feeling of inadequacy can be an occasion for me having a little joy. The injustice that I just learned about, an occasion for a little joy. That scary headline can be an occasion for a little joy. Sprinkling or pooling that big joy into the threats and the challenges and the problems come closer to us, Barb, right? So that, yes, that big joy is waiting for us way ahead whenever Jesus is coming back. Whenever he's coming back, you're up to you. But if we're always structuring our lives like that, then we will never actually know joy now. There are ways in which we can pull joy towards us or sprinkle joy among us. You can all sit down now. You can take those with you if you like, or you can leave them up here. Thank you. Let's give them a round of a hand. Round of applause. So this might be just as simple as I think we're kind of getting better at doing, at least I feel like I'm getting better at doing, is making sure to sprinkle joy into my life through, maybe not always thinking I need to get my work done before I can play. Maybe sometimes it is okay to do a little playing before all the work is done so that we don't kill ourselves with exhaustion. But there's a deeper thing I think we can be aiming toward, is what all of the little joys of life point us to, and how we can connect what's going on in our lives to that bigger joy. What is that dream? What is that vision? What is that state of affairs in the world that we actually, in our heart of hearts, in our deepest dreams, when we are fully at peace in those rare moments of that, we think this is the way the world ought to be? Not in the scriptures today, but elsewhere in the New Testament, somebody said, we don't know exactly who, always be ready to give an account of the hope that is within you, and with gentleness. Always be ready to give an account of the hope that is in you. Don't be ready to give an account of the ideas that are in you. Don't be ready to give an account of the opinions that are in you, the dogmas, the teachings, what you heard from that one person or on social media. What is the hope that is within you? What is that vision that you are pressing toward? So now we're finally able to get to the gospel. We're also almost done, don't worry. So today, Jesus is talking to the Sadducees. We don't hear from the Sadducees very often in the Gospels. We hear from the Pharisees a lot. And you can roughly think of these as kind of like denominations within first century Judaism, but even looser than that. And we learn something important about the Sadducees, as opposed to the Pharisees and as opposed to Jesus, is they don't believe in the resurrection. They don't believe that at the end of time, all who are dead will be raised, which is exactly the thing that Jesus prefigures on Easter. And they come to Jesus then, because they know, okay, this guy's popular. He's a popular teacher. He's talking about the resurrection a lot. We're going to go to him and we're going to ask him a question. Now, we could read this question as them trying to play gotcha with him, like we've come up with this really clever riddle, and we don't think he's going to get out of it, and then we'll be proven right. We could read it like that, but we could also read it, as I like to read it, as genuine curiosity. As they have been puzzling over what would it look like for a resurrection to be real, and they have thought, well, here's an example where we can't quite figure out how this is going to work. So let's just ask him. We have this puzzle, let's just ask him what he thinks. Jesus also has a choice. The Sadducees have a choice about how they're going to approach this conversation. Jesus has a choice about how he's going to respond to this conundrum that they present him with. He could likewise feel or experience or respond to this way, react to them as if they're trying to play gotcha. They are just trying to argue with me. They're trying to attack my deepest beliefs. They are trying to destroy my worldview, and they are wrong, and so I need to fight back. He could do that. That's not exactly what he does do. His response doesn't come across, at least to me, as angry or vindictive or about proving them wrong. It's rambling. It's improvised. And it's heartfelt. We can kind of imagine him as he's saying these words, kind of looking up and out towards the horizon, the distance, the sky. His eyes kind of unfocused as he says, those worthy of that age cannot die anymore. Because they are they're like angels. Because they're all children of God. He's inviting them to see what he is seeing. He is inviting them to experience the hope that he feels, that is deep within him. Can you imagine a world where we just simply don't care about these kinds of things? We don't care about who belongs to whom. We don't care about the legal definitions of this relationship or that relationship, because we are all simply God's children, finally, perfectly together. This question, this what could be a threat, this thing that might have gotten between Jesus and his big hope, he treats as an occasion for pulling that hope right there into that interaction. And that finally gets me back to idea number one, that there is a right way and there's a wrong way. Maybe there is about all sorts of things, a right way and a wrong way. Maybe even for pumpkin carving. The thing is, even if in all sorts of areas of life there is a right way and a wrong way, if I have made everything into a problem, if I have made everything in life into a threat, if I have become so separated from my big joy, why should anyone be convinced that my way is the right way. If all I am doing is reacting to things that feel like they are wrong and evil and destroying all the things I hold most dear, even if they actually are, still, if I cannot connect what is going on now with that big joy, am I even sure I am still working for that joy? Amen.